Hey, hey. 3 viewers. Yes. All right. Great. So yeah, before we begin, I kind of like to build out an example that's relevant to you. So why don't you put in the comments what you're working on? It's like a dashboard, is a game that could be fun. We could do like a Pokemon thing or something. Just get a something that's topical and different. I do a lot of e-commerce in my videos, so it'd be nice to do something other than e-commerce for a change. And this is made by you, so the more that you comment, the better off this is going to be. So yeah, so what we're going to be talking about is module federation. So I heard that Tobias gave a talk at JS Nation today. That's awesome. All right. Well, okay. Let's just jump into it and we'll see how we go. And yeah, all right. This give you more practice to, learn about how to do this. Okay. So yeah, this is a book that, hey, e-commerce. Okay. My day job. Cool. All right. So yeah, Tobias gave a lecture on module federation today. I heard it was about 20 minutes. It's a little fast to do something as complex and cool as module federation. So I just recently wrote a book in concert with Zach, and I'll put up the link for you. And let's just go try it out. Let's go try it out with e-commerce. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use this React starter kit. This has got basically Webpack 5 beta 18, which just came out yesterday, in it. So let's go over and let's go build that out. So let's see. Okay, I was gonna call. Let's make an e-commerce app. Okay, so what does an e-commerce app need? It needs a home page. So let's go. We're gonna de-git that WP5 starter kit, and we're gonna create one called home. Okay, and it also needs a header. So let's go create one called nav, and then we'll just go in VS Code and have a look and see what's in these things. Okay, so let's crack open home. So a pretty standard React app. So let's rename it home. If we do a monorepo thing later on, we'll need that, change that. And it's got Babel, right? It's gonna need to transpile the ES6. So it's got all that. It's got the loaders, so that's for Webpack. And it's finally got Webpack, the CLI, which is gonna run it, and then the dev server, so it's gonna pop up server. And then we got our dependencies, we got React and React DOM, which you're gonna need. So, pretty simple, right? And our build script is gonna build for production. And our start script, we're just gonna fire up Webpack dev server and development. Make it a little easy on myself and my machine. I have live reload over in live because that tends to eat CPU. So, all right. And then over in our Babel RC, it's just React. And let's go take a look at that Webpack config. So up at the top, we got our HTML Webpack plugin. That's going to give us our template page and automatically insert the script tags for us. Module federation plugin. That's what we're going to dig into today. And then we got, it's going to be on 8080, this one at least. And these two have to match, obviously. So the dev server and the public path. The public path is actually really important in the module federation case because what's going to happen is, well, we're going to get this little piece of thing called remote entry from one app that's going to connect to the other. And it's going to have references to all the code that we're going to import. So that's going to be referenced based on localhost 8080. So that's got to match. So whenever you, for example, deploy your federated modules, you're probably going to want to change this public path based on whether you're in production or in development like we are now. All right, now back into our Webpack, we've got our CSS loader and our style loader. And then we got the Babel loader that's going to go and manage our JS. And then we got our module federation plugin. We'll get into some more detail here, but for the moment, let's just go change it to home. Let's go name our app. And let's go take a look over in our app. So we got an index page, got a div, ta-da. It's got a CSS file. We're gonna import that in here along with React and React DOM. Go make ourselves a simple app, and then we're gonna render it. So let's just bring that up, see how it looks. Okay. And all right, great. Okay, so we'll yarn. Oh, so we'll go into home and yarn. yarn start. Okay, cool. There you go. Well, that's big stuff, right? Hi, I'm in React. Let's see, is there any errors or anything? No, I mean, you know, whatever, usual Chrome extension stuff, but otherwise looks pretty clean. Nice, clean build. Okay, so let's say that we're going to do our e-commerce app, and we need a header, right? And that header is going to be shared between all of our applications. We did the thing where we had a big monorepo application or a monolith application that was maybe like a Java app that had, you know, jQuery or something like that on the front end, and then we decided we moved to Node, and we created a whole bunch of apps, and we need a header to go and share between our apps. And we kind of got bored of the whole NPM thing. We want a new live way to share the header around without actually redeploying. So we're looking at this cool module federation stuff to see if that's going to satisfy that requirement. Can we do live sharing between these apps? So the same exact app is over here. So let's go make a change. Just call this nav. Go over here to Webpack. We're going to put this guy on 8081. So it, you know, not the same port. And we'll call that nav. All right, now let's go through this thing. So what this is going to do, we're going to tell it that we haven't, you know, our module is named nav. We want to export it as a variable, which there's a couple of different ways you can export in or package in Webpack. One of them is as a variable, and that's kind of the way that at least most of the examples that we do are done in module federation. It's a pretty easy way to do it. It's going to basically put a literal nav on window. It's in window.nav, and that's going to mount essentially our federated modules. So we are going to go and create, so it's basically exactly the same app. So let's go create a header, and we'll import React from React, and we'll export. This is my cool new header. Now let's see. Let's go make it big. Font size XX large. Add a little padding. You kind of make it stick out. Maybe I don't know, background. Let's see, light gray. How about that? Is that how you spell that? Sure. Okay, so now we've got our. Let's go back over here to save that. Now we got our header. So we need to expose that. So let's go back over here to Webpack, and we're going to say that we are exposing ./header. You can name it whatever you want, but it's got to start with that ./. And then we're going to point it at the header source. And we're also going to share React, which means that we have React, and when we share this module out, we are going to share React in a different bundle. And then when we get imported by home, Module Federation or Webpack is going to do all the cool work of resolving whether I need to also bring in React if the home page doesn't have it. But of course, the home page does have it. So it's going to say, no, we're just going to bring in the code. Okay, so let's go back over here to Webpack config. Actually, you know, let's start it up. Let's go over here to nav, yarn. So do you see Tobias's talk, just out of curiosity? All right, here's another, you know, I'm going to make this a little different so you can see that there's a difference here. Let's see, hi there, I'm from React. I'm the nav page, nav site. Okay, and it doesn't import its own header, so let's fix that. Why not? Import header from myself so we can see what it's going to look like. Nice. Okay. Oh, look at that. That is a cool header. All right. Looking pretty good. So how do we get this over onto homepage? Okay. So let's go back over here, and I'm going to show you what we got. We got this thing called remote entry. And this is what we need to import into the homepage. So it's going to go and set up this var nav on the homepage. And we're going to tell Webpack to go looking for that. So the first thing we need to do is we need to tell it that there's going to be this remote nav. And that's the way that we do that. And then we need to go import it. So we need to go back over to the index.html. And we need to bring it. Oops, that would be. Let me put in the head section as opposed to the script section. That'd be interesting. And let's bring it in. Was it again 8081, I guess? Remote entry JS. Okay, cool. And now we're going to reboot it because it needs to re-parse that Webpack config. Still working. That's a good sign. So let's go over here. Let's import the header from the nav. And it's resolving this because we put in that Webpack config that when you see nav, it's going to be a remote, right? And so it's going to go and do all that loading for us. So let's go and add another div in there. What would life in React be without more divs? All right. Save that out. Let's see. Oh, and it doesn't work. Of course it doesn't work. Let's see. Can we debug this thing out? Chunk loader, React index failed. Oh, I saw this before. I think it might be. Oh, yeah. Okay. I guess I just need to reboot the other server. Okay, cool. So this is on 8080, right? So hey there, I'm from React. Let's make it a little bit easier. Let's say I'm homepage. I'm homepage, right? So now I'm in the homepage and I'm getting that header from nav. So let's go and make a change. Let's actually go over here to the header. And let's change that to light. Was that a dark blue with a nice, nice contrasty font there? Let's see. So let's go over to 8081. Okay, looking good. Now if I refresh here, what? Okay. Why is it being flaky on me today? Huh. Okay. That's interesting. Could be an issue with beta 18. Like we just got this. Yeah, just dropped yesterday. But yeah, there you go. So that's working. Awesome. So I think I'm actually going to backtrack to beta 17 just because, might have had some issues there and, whatever. All right. Okay. So that, that's pretty much a good solid chunk of it right there. So let's rebuild that. And here's the great thing about it. So when you compare it to other sharing techniques, so what are our other sharing techniques that we can use to move a header around like that? So one, we've got NPM. So how would we do this via NPM? Well, we probably wouldn't have a nav app. We'd have a nav project. And in order to make changes to that nav project, I'd have to go into that nav project. And there we go. Looking pretty good across the board. Great. So I'll just keep it at that. Oops. All right. There we go. So I got to go into that nav project. And then I got to go make changes. And then I would build it, I would, debug it and change my unit tests, make whatever required changes I'm going to need. And then I bump the version and I'd have to go to each one of the consumers of it, like homepage. And in these kind of microsite systems, you might have, 4 or 5 in an e-commerce setting applications that you got to go and update. And you would then say, hey, there's a new version, or you'd email them or Slack them or whatever. And then they would have to go and bump their versions and then redeploy. That's a kind of long way around, right? And when you want consistency, like you want the header to be the same from site to site, you really want everything to go in lockstep. So the live sharing thing is a good thing to do. So we didn't have live sharing, we didn't have module federation. So what did we come up with to try out live sharing, when we just had NPM? Well, we went with a micro FE strategy. So instead of packaging the header as an NPM module, we'd package it as a micro FE. And the way that we do that, it may be something like a single spa or open components, or we just roll our own DIY micro FE kind of framework, like a little script tag. just drop on the page. That's a pretty standard one in with a header. Problem with that is now you're kind of in your own unique ecosystem, right? And you're also, you don't really know what else is on the page. You're not interacting with it. So if you write the header in React and then you wrap it in like a single spa with React, you know, you're basically bringing in two copies of React. You've got this one that's running the header, and then you got another that's running your page. So that's really big. Whereas in module federation, you're sharing those. You're kind of in their own ecosystem, like single spot, and wraps things in its own way. And it doesn't really feel like a native React app. So it's kind of a little odd. But as you can see here, right, we're sharing right out of the app. So I'm looking at this header, right? This is it. This is what I'm sharing, right? That's all I'm sharing. And the only thing I need to do to share it is just expose it. And I can share any JS code. I can share I18N strings. I can share A/B test variants. I can share settings. I can share all kinds of artifacts. I can put anything I put into JS. I can share through module federation, which is great. And there's also multiple different ways that you can deploy this. You can deploy it as an app like this, as a running app, or you can deploy it as essentially like a static piece of source on S3, right? You can essentially do the same kind of micro FE, static deploy to S3, consume it, and then you're just kind of making it a build step. In fact, actually, one of the things I was looking at just recently that I think I might do a video on is having a component library that's shipped both as federated modules or as NPM. And so it's really up to the consumer. The reason being that, like, again, when you have these microsites, like an e-commerce microsite, you don't know, like, all the different apps are going to be on different cadences, and they're going to be deploying at different times, and they're going to be upgrading things at different times. So that move from Webpack 4 to Webpack 5 is significant all on its own. And module federation is just one part of that. You don't need to embrace module federation as part of that migration, but it is a fairly big migration. So having that NPM module as essentially a holdover until you get to Webpack 5, and then you can consume it via module federation, is actually quite nice if you're looking to build like a shared component library that you use between all of your applications. All right, so what I didn't cover the last time we did this was actually bi-directional dependencies. So let's do that, because that's actually really neat, and it starts to get in this world what we would call full site federation. But if you have questions, now is the time. Well, there's always a time, but now is a great time to ask those, because I'm here and there's just 0 of us. Great. Yeah. Is that actually true? Because if there's 0 people, this doesn't make a lot of sense. Okay. Sometimes it lies. So if anybody's watching, hit the button. Hit a comment and tell me. Otherwise, I'm going to end the stream, because I've done this about 1 million times before. Oh, there's one. We're back. Okay. Well, we just created a demonstration that had 2 applications talking together. Let me get you back up to speed if you want to take a look. If you could just hit me up in the comments, let me know that you're watching. So the number is bouncing around between 0 and 1. And if there's only 1 watcher, I'm probably not going to continue. So we have 2 different apps. One is on 8080 and the other is on 8081. And they both share this spiffy new header that we created. So the way that we did that is we have 2 apps. And one is called Home, and that's the consumer app. And then the other is called Nav, and that's essentially the vendor app. And if we want to go over here into the Webpack, we can take a look in the Nav and see that the Webpack exposes header and shares out React. And then over here in Home, our Webpack brings in Nav, which is defined down here as the name. And then it's imported just like any other React component. or any really JavaScript code at all when you're doing like ES6 imports. So, hey, nice. I think you're it, dude. Ah, well. Sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. Marius, if it's just you and me, man, I think I'm gonna bail. So, yeah. Oh well. That's very weird. I kind of figured that, like, coming out of the JS Nation stuff, that people would be really interested in this and want to get more information on it. Ah, hey, okay, cool. Thank you, Santush. All right. Cool. So let's do bidirectional sharing, because that's actually at the front. That's actually how you get into what we call full site federation. And I think I'm going to do a video on that on Saturday. Hopefully get some more people interested in that as well. I actually did a kind of big video on that earlier in the week, or last week. Huge video on full site federation. And some people were like, wow, that was totally overwhelming. And so I wanted to give a chance for people to actually ask questions and kind of guide through the process. Okay, so we're gonna go and make up some BS here. Let's I don't know, let's call this like strings.js, and we're just gonna export. Let's see, my app name is home. I don't know, whatever. This is home. And so what we want to do is we want to go and export this out of home and then import it back into nav. So we're going to actually have both applications connecting to each other directly. So that's really interesting. So this guy, this is nav. So let's go back over to home. So this is home's remote entry or module federation configuration. So let's go and export strings, source strings. Cool. And then we can go over here to nav and we can import it. So just like we did on the other end with adding nav as a remote, now we're going to add home as a remote. And so that's pretty interesting, right? You actually have the two applications talking between each other, and Webpack and module federation is going to make that work for you, which is really cool. One of the little gotchas in here as of B17 is I need to actually import my own remote entry to make this work. So that's now on 8080. So now I've got myself as a remote, and I've got nav, which is 8081, as a remote. And I'm also going to put this into the nav because it's got a little test page. But I only have to bring in home there. Yeah, you can. Ta-da! Crazy. Okay, so now what was I calling again? App name or something like that? App name from from home strings. Let's go take a look. Let's see. App name. There you go. This is home. Yeah, okay, why not? This doesn't make any sense, but I'm going to do it anyway because I'm just making this stuff up on the fly. Okay, so let's go and do that. This cool new header, and then I'm going to just put in app name there. And I'm a yarn start on that guy. Yarn. Whoa. Put it over on my chat window. That's not where you're supposed to go. All right. Why isn't that getting shared? Oh, okay. Yeah. Strings.app name. Yeah, nice, right? Okay. Oh, haha. Guys, just because you're so cool, for showing up on a thread that's got almost nobody on it on a live stream, thank you so much. We're gonna go let's go visualize the connection between these two applications in the dashboard. What do you think? Okay, so we published a dashboard to go along with this. Really cool. I'm gonna go and bring up my copy of the dashboard because it's got something that hasn't been released yet, so you get to see that for the first time. Very cool. and it's over in projects, Federation dashboard. Okay. Dashboard FE. And I'm just going to get rid of the dashboard data that's already there because it's right. Dashboard. Oh, FM dashboard. That's what it is. Okay, cool. And I'm going to run it. Bring it up. All right. So this is our Federation dashboard. It doesn't have anything in it yet, so it doesn't really have anything to show. But it does show you how to actually go and configure module federation in an app, which is kind of cute. I like that. But let's go and add some data. So I'm going to go over and find the README for the plugin, which is out on npm today. It's been out for a while. I need to go and add that plugin to our projects. So I'm going to go and add it over here, add it over there. And so now the way that you would do this is you're going to run Docker. And I'll have the Docker page up here. I can put that into the comments. And this would run on localhost at 8,000. It would start up its own data directory. There's all the instructions on here on how to get that all set up. And then the next thing you need to do is once you got that plugin installed, we need to go and add it into our webpacks. Let's go one by one. Let's go over here to home. Add that in there. Just a standard good old plugin. And then we're going to configure it. Really easy. The configuration is as easy as just basically telling it where it is. So in this case, it's on localhost at 3,000, and it's got this update API. So we're going to go put that in there and put this over here into Webpack. Like so. All right. So now we're just going to build it. And we're going to go take a look. Let's see. So now if I refresh, ta-da! It's telling us we now have a home app. And it exports strings. That means export. It also exports React, which is really cool. So now let's go do the same thing with this guy. And I'll refresh it again. Cool. So this is showing us that nav depends on strings and home depends on header, right? And now this is just this tiny little example, right? But you can imagine as you start to grow your network of federated modules, we can tell you down to the component level, down to the module, who uses what and where. And it's really, really cool and powerful. And there's a bunch of different visualizations. This one, I guess, I would actually say is a little more clear in this case. Nav gets home strings and also Ven's header. And then home connects to header and then also grabs home strings. And that, just FYI, this is free today. You could use this today. There's also this nifty little dependency graph. Again, there's the table. And now in this case, the table is showing us that we're exporting strings from home and consuming strings within nav and the exact inverse on the other side. Thank you. Thank you, Marius. Okay. Let's go take a look. So you can also drill into some of these things. Like, for example, home, we can get demographics, right? So here's my app, home, and it's consuming header. It's got all these, here are the versions that it's got. Here's the development dependencies. And we can, if there's some metadata that you can put on it that actually you can give it the repo. And when you click on source app.jsx, it would then get you right to the file. So you can actually see in the file where it's used. That's really cool when you think about it. The reason being, remember the old PHP documentation where, there'd be some rando PHP function, I don't know, string split or something like that, right? And you didn't care about the top of the documentation. It's like, whatever, the index of the string or whatever. Here's a string, here's where I want to split it, whatever. But there's all the examples, right? and that was the best thing ever because you could just copy and paste. Imagine if like you federate carousel, and then you bring that into the dashboard, and you see everybody's using carousel, and then people are like, well, hey, how do I use carousel? You're like, go to the dashboard, and then click on one of these on that carousel, see who uses it, and then click on that source file right over here, and you get to see how they're using it. So you actually, your code base starts becoming your repository of examples of how to use it, and they're all fresh and live and maintained because, well, otherwise there'd be bugs. Pretty cool. All right, and then there's also the modules. So for example, if I wanted to use strings, well, okay, I didn't add the metadata of where the remote was, so this is off. But basically tells you how to use strings. And then in addition, there's also this, which is really cool. It's basically telling us, now that I've gone and gotten all the apps, like what are all the different dependencies that are in both these apps? And in an enterprise setting, this information is gold, right? I mean, think about how tough it is to find out and normalize a React version across 7 different teams, right? You'd have to go and write code to go and grab the package JSONs out of GitHub and then figure it all out. This is doing it for you for free. All you got to do is put up a Docker instance. You have the ability to add on mounted data, so it's persistent. And then you add into the Webpack configuration that dashboard plugin along with some metadata about where it is. And now you've got a dashboard showing all the apps and how they're all working together. Hope that's exciting to you. It's exciting to me. I've been working on it for a couple weeks now, and I'm excited by it. All right, so we've got bi-directional data sharing going on. What else can I do you for? So this is, your thing, and I want you to get a sense of, kind of what module federation is and how to use it and what it can be useful for. Do we want to talk about how to deal with failure scenarios? That's always fun to see, that because you think about it, right? Well, one of the big values of having an NPM library is you pretty much know that, like, once you've built the thing and probably containerized it, Dockerized it for ECS or whatever you're gonna do with it, you can EDE test it, where you can integration test the app, like maybe with an EDE framework, like, I don't know, Cypress, and then you pretty much know that thank you, Santosh, awesome, that you're ready to go, right? But in this, right, what happens when 8080 goes down, or 8081 goes down, your header app goes down, right? So let's talk a little bit about that. So let's go up here and let's yarn start the home, but not yarn start the nav, and see what happens. Obviously, boom, that blows up right away, so that's not great. So what's it telling us? Connection refused. You think? Probably true. Okay, so nav is not defined. That's because the script tag failed, right? And so we're going to have a problem loading header. So what do we do? Well, let's go back over here for an app. And look, we got this basically hard import. So one way to kind of fix this, let's go, I don't know, I'm kind of a stickler about like the way that my, what am I doing? Jeez. Is a React lazy on an import of this guy. So I'm going to lazy import that. And then we're going to wrap that in a suspense. Fall back to, wow, that didn't work. Right, and in reality, right, you're going to go and have some decent small header that would, act as like a failover for this. Okay, so still not working. So one thing we can do is we can wrap it in an error boundary. So now it's, it's still blowing up, because this is blowing up. So let's go and check out React error boundaries. Serverless scenarios. It would be great to talk about that, actually. It would be, oh yeah, no, actually, sorry. When you say serverless, you mean like lambdas? Woohoo! That didn't work. All right. You guys ready? I love that. Like here, for the 7 viewers that showed up, check it out. So I'm gonna go and we're gonna play a little bit. There's my what is it called again? Streamlabs. All right. Woohoo! It didn't work.
Little surprises around every corner, but nothing dangerous.
It's a little surprise. What are you gonna do? Okay. Let's go make an error boundary. Let's go make sure that we don't blow up the whole app when we can't get something. So let's go and grab our error boundary. And let's wrap our header in it. Now, if I go over here to our... this is our copy and pasted code from React Land. Let's get rid of that because there's no error service. So let's go and wrap that in an error boundary. Okay. There we go. Nice. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Static. We can definitely do static, and I can show you. How does that sound? Okay. So something went wrong. So now we have a way to make sure that even though we are opportunistically loading this stuff in runtime at runtime, we're not going to blow up if something goes wrong. And just by the way, like a little bit of a plug for the book, I actually have scenarios in the book for all of the different types of code that you would consume and how to consume them safely and fail over if there is any problems. So I'm just going to drop that in there. Oh, hey now. Sorry, I lost your chat, and it's important to me that I keep up with you guys. Okay, so now we have a safe app, but let's talk about static. Okay. Let's talk about a static deploy, because I like static deploys. I'm a fan. I'm with you on the static deploy thing. I'm a big fan. So I'm just curious, did you guys get to see the dashboard? Because that's pretty spiffy too. So if you guys didn't get to see the dashboard, let me know and I'll bring the dashboard back up and you guys can see how spiffy that is. Okay, so we've got nav right over here, and it actually does have over on our package JSON, it's got a build. And you know what? I'm just going to set a development because I want it to be nice. And so I'm going to go in here. Do I have a dist already? That's weird. Dist. Oh, I know. When I built for the dashboard. Nah, that's all right. I don't need to do that. It doesn't fail. Okay, I'm going to rebuild for this. Yeah. So the nice thing about that dashboard plugin is it doesn't actually fail the build if it can't find the dashboard. So in this case, like the dashboard is no longer running, and it's just like, it's cool. It's cool. Just FYI. Dashboard didn't update. It's all good. Okay, let's go take a look in dist. And so this is now our static site. We'd be deploying this to S3. It's got our remote entry. It's got our source for the app. It's got a source header. It's got some JSON. It's got the Webpack stats. Everyone needs those. So now, let's just imagine that we are, the S3 is on port 8081. So we'll fire up server. We'll take a look. Okay, so this is now our static build. So let's refresh that and boom, right? So I'm not running an app. I'm running a static deploy off of S3, which is actually 8081. And the only thing you really need to make sure, and this is the critical piece, right? When you build this thing, wherever you're going to build it to, make sure that that this public path is going to be, you know, I don't know, you know, my assets.mycompany.com, you know, I don't know, header or whatever, where it is, you're going to copy and paste it to. And the reason being is that if we go over here to this 8081 and we look at that remote entry file, right, this doesn't actually have the header in it. It's got a bunch of references to the header. And so in order to get to it, it needs to know, it's going to actually just be creating script tags on the fly. And so it really needs to know this base public path, and it's got to be right. And so as we also were talking about like how to version this stuff, so you might want to think about like, assets.mycompany.com header, 1.0.0, and then there you go. And then you could actually have different apps go and depend on different versions. And if you got something like an Akamai or something like that, you could actually automate it to go and have like a default where everything goes to, the most recent version, and then you bump that default in Akamai when you, or some sort of redirector or alias when you bump a new version. But that gives you some safety, right? So then if you blow up and some other, and this is actually a fairly serious concern. I mean, we've done some safe coding around how to use these components here, wrapping them in error boundaries and all that. But you can imagine that, like, if you do a lot of this, and you might not do that everywhere, and some engineer might not know that because it's so easy to share in module federation, that this component or this piece of JavaScript is federated and shared. So if they change that API, it could blow up, and so that having a way to roll back is really good. So that's something to think about when you start working on this, is like, how do I version this safely? Nice. Okay. All right. In case you guys weren't here, I am going to let's show off the dashboard again, because I think it's super cool, and it's a good way to visualize what's happening between these two applications. So what I did was I went in and I added a dashboard plugin, which we've open sourced, called the dashboard plugin. And this is all documented. It's all documented over here in this dashboard, in the Docker link that's up in the chat a little bit. And you basically run that Docker instance of the dashboard. You add this plugin in, and you add the plugin then into the list of plugins, along with the location of it. So if you deploy it via ECS or something, this would change to whatever that ECS location is. And then you run it. And so in this case, I've already done that build between those two. And it'll show us that we've got a nav component, we've got a nav application, and we've got a home application, and they both depend on each other, right? So in this case, the home application exposes something called strings, which is used by the header. And then nav exposes header, which is then consumed by home. So it's a nice way to visualize the connections between the apps and how the entire system is working together. And honestly, if you can give me any other tool that can give you that, even before module federation, I don't know it. So I think it's incredibly powerful, even if you, well, all right, yeah, you got to use module federation. Do you have to use module federation? Yeah, I mean, there's some features actually in here that you don't need to use module federation for, like this dependencies feature that will show you all the dependencies between your applications. Even if you didn't have module federation, we haven't tested this, but you would get that kind of data, which is actually invaluable all on its own if you're doing that kind of work across all kinds of different teams. All right. Anyway, yeah. So let's see. What have we done so far? We've shared some code. We shared a header between two applications, between the home and the nav. We made it bi-directional by having something that was in home that we now consume in nav. That's really cool. We can actually show that a little more detail here. Here are the different apps that we have. Home is exporting strings and is being consumed by nav. And then header is being exported by, or it's being included by home, and then exported by nav. So this gives you a sense of what everybody's got going on. And then we did safe coding, like how to go and make a component that doesn't blow up. We did a static deploy, which is really cool. So we now know how to go and build out one of these and in a kind of Gatsby, SSG, whatever sense you want to do with it. And we looked at the dashboard. So are there more things that you guys want to look at before we wrap it up? I mean, fire questions at me. I'm down. And thank you for showing up, by the way. I really appreciate that. I have a fan base in Peru. That's awesome. Static Lambda. Yep. Okay. Fascinated by my videos. Wow. Thank you. Sometimes I'm fascinated by them too. You know, like, how did I do that? Okay. So let me give you a little taste then of what I want to do on Saturday, and really get you guys excited about that. Hopefully, let's go and take a look at. Let me see if it's in. Where is it? Full site federation. Has anybody actually worked with Crank yet? I'm just curious. I did a. I want to see if Crank would work with Federation. Turns out it does. Okay, so let's go into federated. So basically, all right, let's start up here. So what I did was I created an e-commerce app back into e-commerce land again that has 3 applications in it. It's got and let's see, it's got checkout, it's got home, it's got search. So let's go over here, and it's in a mono repo, but it doesn't, you know, a mono repo is not required for this. So let's start that up. This may blow up because it's I know it's gonna blow up because my other stuff's running. Hold on, let me go and get rid of all that. Let me shut this down. Get rid of that. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Go back in here. It's worth it. I'm telling you, it's so cool. Yarn start. Okay. Okay. So we've got 3. Watch up here. So localhost 8082, localhost 8080, and localhost 8081. Right. Now those are the 3 different apps. That's homepage, search page, and checkout page, all running independently, but they all consume each other such that when you hop along from the nav up here, you actually watch. You're not actually going to change the port because each of these applications federates to the other applications through the header, and then it does all the SPA routing between them. So in this application, we actually, in this example that I walked through, we start with a microsite architecture. So this is, if you're doing e-commerce, I know you guys are familiar with this, where you have like a Java struts app or something like that that's got jQuery on the front, and it's a monolith, and everybody hates it, and it takes forever. And then somebody goes, oh, you know what we got to do? We got to do React, Redux, and Node. And so you go and you like peel off checkout or something like that, and you make the checkout app, and you route all the traffic to checkout, and the rest of it's in the monolith. And then you kind of peel off app by app by app. And that's great. Now you have like 5 different apps, and they can all deploy independently. But it's also a huge pain in the butt because now you've lost the ability to do a SPA. So what this does is we have that app. We've got an app that's got 3 parts and 3 applications, and we re-SPA it. So if we look at our inspector over here in network, let's go refresh, right? We bring in a lot of stuff, right? We bring in the frame, which is the nav. We bring in the search page. We bring in some products. Bring in the home content and add to cart. The add to cart button is shared and all that. And then to go to, like, I'm on the home page right now. If I go to the search page, watch. I just click once. All I add is 1 file. All the rest reused. How cool is that, right? That is fast, right? Imagine that from the customer perspective, right? In fact, we don't even have to imagine it. Let's go back over here to non-federated, right? And then we'll run it again. And watch my browser explode in in Windows again. So let's see. Let's yarn started over there. And so here's the non-federated version. I'll just bring up one of them, right? Now watch as it blinks as it goes between pages, right? So I'm gonna click on home, blink. I'm gonna go click on cart, blink, right? And so it's reloading everything every time. And if I go over here to the network, right, I preserve my log. So now I'm bringing in 1.6 megabytes of React. Now let's go over here to the home page, bringing in another 1.6 megabytes of React. Now I'm going over here to the checkout page, bringing in another 1.6 megabytes of React. Oh wow, 1.5 this time, a savings. And so that's a customer experience. And if you guys are doing e-commerce, I know you're familiar with this. As you go from experience to experience to experience, you are downloading these monster bundles because every team has their own bundle and maybe their own dependencies and all that. And then you can try to do the externals thing, but then you got to synchronize everybody, right? You got to say, okay, React is such and such a version. We're going to, and then everybody's going to externalize that. So we're not bringing down this huge React bundle. And that's great. But in the federated modules world, you don't need to do any of that because the shared infrastructure in here is doing all of that externalization for you for free. And you can even add on to this. You can say that you want, React Redux at a certain version. And you can even just import the dependencies in here from package.json and set up the versions. And then let's just say that okay, you got Lodash as an example. And I don't even, what's Lodash's latest version, like 10 or something, I don't know, who knows. Or 11, who knows. And like the homepage team is on 10 and the checkout team wants to go to 11 in an externalized world, right? That'd be a huge pain in the butt. You have to say, okay, whoa, let's synchronize. Everybody's going to go to 11 at the same time or whatever. In the federated world, your homepage is going to stay at 10. Your checkout page is going to share 11, and then when the user jumps from home to checkout, they're going to go and get the new version, and it's going to maintain it so that they don't collide. And then when homepage bumps to 11, that doesn't happen anymore, like because 11 will be there already, right? And so you get this, like we always talk about, like how all these websites are like changing a 747 in flight, right? You don't like a lot of the stuff that's built into sharing like manages all of that version dependencies for you. So it's really, really cool. All right. So, well, I hope that was exciting. And I'm going to be going in depth in this example, the full site federation on Saturday. And we will RMFR this federated directory, and we will go and step by step walk through taking this multi-site application and turn it into a spa. We kind of rebuild it as a spa again. And what we'll do is basically follow this paradigm. So or this architecture. So this is what we start with. We got a home page, a search page, a checkout page. They've got this shared components library that they talk to. They've got a shared nav that they talk to. They've got some shared node modules. And they then talk to microservices at the bottom. So if this is from you, if you've done e-commerce, you've seen this before. And then step by step, we start moving those elements back into those applications. Like for example, the add to cart component gets put into checkout as it should be. And then checkout then shares that add to cart button with home and with search via module federation. And what we start to see is it all kind of flattens. And it's really cool. And you start to get back some really cool stuff. As I say, you get back SPA. You even get back the ability to do an E2E test, right? And when we do this sort of like microsite architecture, it's always hard to get a complete end-to-end test, right? How do you do that? Because you got to stand up all of these different apps, or you've got to go and do the thing where you start on the home page in production, you go to search page in production, then you come back down to my local version of checkout. don't have to do that anymore. You can literally write an end-to-end test for the entire site in Cypress in any one of those applications, because all of the applications are fully federated and they can present the whole application to everybody else. It's kind of a mind trip, but it's really cool. All right, well, got a few minutes left. Any more questions? All right, this has been really fun. So, okay, as I say, here's my book on all of this. And well, this is very cool because we're actually going to be updating this over time. We actually put out our first update today because beta 18. And we'll be tracking all the betas through the release candidates, through release. And then as we start developing best practices for things like versioning and how to do that, we'll keep updating the book over time. So cool. Thank you, Diego. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. All right. Well, I hope you have a great day, and I hope you have a great end of the weekend. And I hope to see you on Saturday. Drop on by. We'll go and federate a site. It'll be fun, and see where we go. All right, guys. Check you later.